So, will this work? It does. Excellent. Hello, Internet. It's drawing time. I have stepped in and enjoyed a leisurely Saturday. How about you? Pardon me while I stretch the phalanges. Coming to the end of post-production on the TV show. So that's looking good. We need to find more. We need to find cleanup artists for my department. So the hunt is on for that. If you're interested, you should go check out. Yeah, let's see. Let's open up. Right. OasisAnimation.com, the jobs page, you'll find listings for several positions we're looking for, including cleanup artists for characters and backgrounds. And if it's not already there, props will be added shortly. There's also riggers for props are needed. Bunch of stuff. Go check it out. Both 2D and 3D stuff. So if you're looking for work and you're someone with a reasonable amount of either experience or expertise, if you're for a cleanup job, you probably just need expertise and you could be fresh out of training. As long as you understand the tools and you're able to trace in style, essentially. That's cleanup is you're taking the designs, master designs I do, and redrawing them digitally as in harmony, copying them in harmony, and getting the maintaining and or refining the aesthetics of the show. So you have to do it in style. But yeah, we need people, so I might as well mention that. Yeah, here we go. We could see this is I've got here. Yes, just at the page, and you can see for yourself there is several, and I talked about this. It used to be the remote jobs were just freelance jobs, but that is not the case. So with a bit of nudging, they agreed that we should change that. So now you will find that they are all in fact remote. Although, strictly speaking, we are looking for ideally more people in Quebec than not. That has more to do with just like funding issues and tax stuff. Probably it's a commercial studio, but Quebec and Canadian shops give a lot of support. Excuse me, government support to keep things going smoothly and stay competitive. And they have, just looking here, it's mostly art related. There's supervisor jobs, so you still need to be able to do the work there, but you're going to be doing a lot of managing. There's animators, all the things. I posted a little while ago on social. That was a rabbit hole I went down. Let's close some tabs. I keep that one open. I don't need this. Don't need that. I'm going to be going here. So, yeah, I posted that there's a bit of a boom in just thinking I need to also actually open up a window for the chat in case anyone's joined the chat. There's been a boom for animation work. That something that anyone who's looking for work right now in the arts, just FYI, I know there are shortages. You do need to have certain specific skill sets to do the job, but like knowledge of harmony of some essential nature is pretty important. I'm training up on it right now. Last video I did with these was me poking around trying to get comfortable with the drawing tools, which I mostly have. I'll be doing that this weekend too. Right now I'm just gonna, not sure, I might doodle, but I've got a couple pages open from 2 different stories I might work on. And I want to open the chat. That's right, I was doing that. Well, videos. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. I can see it here. Excellent. And there is nobody in the chat. But it is now visible to me. If I need it, let's put it somewhere a little more visible. Line of sight. Okay. So what you're seeing on my browser there pop the chat out. All right, focus. What you're seeing in Facebook browser there, this is a logo I did for Grenadine Records, but the character, it's obviously a reference to that classic pizza thing. But the character I drew is Cheeseboy, the scumbag tattoo and stuff. That was all part of his look. He was actually a character by my friend George Rizak, who did him in zines and stuff. And that, let's see, Eric was one of the founders of Grenadine Records. So let me go here. Yes, you'll see that post to the screen. I'm done teaching for a while. Well, the last class ended anyway, and I have no plans to get back into it right now because the animation work's keeping me busy. But I was going down this week in my downtime. I was digging through old flat files. I got asked on Twitter from Alex Megalis about another one of these posters that I did for him before Grenadine even, I think. And I had them all in one big folder, so I went and scanned the whole set. So these are all the posters I did when I first got to Montreal. In fact, one of them is from just before I left from Toronto. But they're from the period roughly my first year or into, I think, my fourth or fifth year in Montreal, roughly. Yeah. They were for various different shows. Some of them, so the one on the left here was partially inspired by a Play Safe campaign in Ontario called, the character was called All Star, and also sort of inspired by other robot stuff. But then this is all hand lettering, and I was very happy with it. Just the logo here is something that I did digitally at the time in Photoshop, but the rest is by hand. This one, the cartoon here is by hand. The lettering inside the circle is hand done. These little graphics are hand done. The rest was paste up, so you can even see the cutout lines on some of it. So I had a laser printer and I was doing bits of text and pasting them up. I do not like, aside from there's some just broken bits here, I do not like my kerning and leading and general. There's stuff that I know now that I would tweak and make it happier. And at the time I did it, I looked at it, I was like, no, it's not right. I want to work this, but I didn't have time. I had to, I don't remember the details, but I had to get it to the copy shop like right away. It was pressed for time. So it went as is. But it's okay. But I didn't like it as much as the all hand done ones. And then this one's all hand done as well. Yeah, I don't see any paste up at all on that one. You can see I have my contact phone number for people who want to hire me to do their band posters. So there we got the CISM logo in the corner. And I think there was a video recording of this concert, I hear. I'd be interested to see that. As the text says, I like the energy of this band, but it was really loud, and I was always kind of cautious about my hearing. If it felt like I was getting a little too assaulted. So I remember frequently having to leave these guys' shows because I just wasn't up for taking the noise sound damage to my earlobes, my eardrums. It actually felt like my earlobes would burn when it was too loud. I would get this also additional sensory reaction that I have for certain intense harsh sounds. I don't get the roaring, but I get a physiological equivalent, I think. It's very intense. Another poster for the same band. Pretty much all done by hand. So the logos in the bottom, those are paste up. But Slot Machine, I think, was hand done. Sublinauts was hand done. They're both copied from existing logos for the band, but I wanted to curve them, so I did them by hand with underdrawing. Rest of the hand lettering's all around the outside. It's the station and company logos, like the Beer Boreal logo. Those things are paste up, was provided. The rest is by hand. All hand done. That was fun. It was very fast and dirty. I remember this being early after I arrived to Montreal. This one was a little later. It's a sequel to the same series. Alexis O'Hara hosted them. They were fun. I remember this one being for... Is it there? Open mic 1 a.m. Karen starts at... Artie Show, yes. So the Artie Show is a venue in the same location as Castle de Popolo, and I did a few posters for shows there. This is actually Toronto, just before I left. So you'll see that. Also stylistically feels a little sort of that. So it was like I was done around the same time. This was later for Grenadine Records. So I was the art director for Grenadine Records and did any graphics and illustration work that needed to get done that wasn't already provided by a lot of the bands were creative. So like, in fact, this CD was designed by one of the band members, and they provided a lot of all the raw material that went into their album was sent to me. So I had references, and the little figure guides are a reference to the little figure guides they used in their design. But I think they also sent me a photo of this factory that they wanted to use in the poster somehow. I recall coming up with the idea of like them carrying CDs out and the sign, but they might have actually had notes to that extent. I don't remember. I don't have the paperwork. I have some of the files, but I haven't seen notes from the band to verify that. This was for a play for the Fringe, I think. Is it a Fringe play? It was a Fringe style play. Small black box in a bar. Mark Rubinoff had written it. He was a roommate of Rupert Bottenberg. That's how I knew him. And the play, I think, is how I met Alex Megalis, maybe? He's the guy in the tie there. He played... It was a suit. He played a suit. It was about a group of Gen X friends. It was a very Gen X play. It had musical interludes with Nico Case and the Boyfriends and a bunch of other musical acts. I can't remember with... Is it? I think it was live music too. I remember it being a really interesting show. I enjoyed it. Definitely went to that one. I remember watching. Music for Matt Makers was one of the Grenadine bands, and they actually did some of their own graphic design as well. And this was an attempt to kind of do something that fit with the style of their own work, although it was really my own thing in the end. But I started with this very simple, abstract shape for the background digitally. And I did a sketch, a drawing of the band based on some of their promo shots, and superimposed that here. Everything else is just type work, digital work. I think I was using what for this? I forget now. I like this one better, but it was a relatively early experiment. The Casa de Popolo lettering, I think I should have just done by that hand. It could have been better, but otherwise, yeah. This was very kind of punk rock music anthology, and I used characters, comic characters. So this is Deadbeat and Cheeseboy. Cheeseboy was a character by my friend George Rizlock. He used to do them in zines out of Windsor, and Deadbeat was my drawing of George as Cheeseboy's brother. So that's what George looks like. And I gave him Elvis glasses, which was a thing he did wear occasionally off and on, and there's like a leather trench coat, which he did wear. We had that in common. And this is just like a waitress, very stylized 50 waitress, carrying the album. Cool punk girl of the sort that I adored at the time. And then so this is the color art, which that's just a scan of the printed art. I don't seem to have, and I think I know what happened to them, the master files for this. So this image has a black and white version of the cover, and I recall making that from the master and then realizing later that I'd accidentally saved it that way and erased the original master files. So that's like full resolution with everything separated and the coloring and design work and all that. Flattened it out to a little tiny fucking thumbnail for the poster. So I went looking for, this is one of the things I found. I also have this copy of the line art. So you can see there the artwork that I drew. There's Cheeseboy and Deadbeat and a bunch of people ready to eat pile of syrup and gasoline pancakes. Syrup and gasoline is the name of the thing. I did this logo with Cheeseboy. I think I started with mentioning that, right? And these are liner notes from the first volume. Inside booklet. Here is the print ready sheet, so it's good I got that. It's just not in layers and stuff, so I can't do much about it. But I eventually did find this master print copy, so thank God. Did not lose it all. These little kind of heads of this graphic. I'm pretty happy with how punky this sort of came out. I think I have a sheet like that for the sequel, but I also found the cover art from the second volume, which was quieter and cooler. Here's the back. You can see the pretty impressive band lineup. So here's the booklet fold out masters. I don't think I found the liner notes for this. They're probably somewhere in my drawers, but I didn't get that far. This is the disc from the first album, disc art. So there's like a white undersheet that printed, and then I can't remember if we used color or just black and white print over. I think we just had black and white budget. So this was probably just black and white printed on top of this white underlayer. So we had silver reflecting through where the gasoline and syrup and gasoline was being poured onto the pancakes, and wherever there were highlights on it, it was at a like 50%, places 20% even. Transparency, so it's a screen of black ink being printed, but it's directly on silver, so it's reflective. I was very pleased with that design. Same goes with the logo. Had like a disc of silver popping. Everything else had a nice white matte, so we had popping silver logo and stuff. Being clever and shit, having fun doing graphic design, especially when I did all the art. It was always a fun job. There's the back of the first volume, the tray card. Didn't I do that? I thought I uploaded that as a larger JPEG. Anyway, so that's cool. There's more posters. Here we go. I think this is some of the last ones I posted. Lake of Stew was a band that I would hang out with. They would have potluck and jam nights, and so there's musical jamming. And they did a lot of bluegrass and we're into some Middle Eastern music as well. They would get into rhythmic stuff from that. It was a big group, so there's a lot of different influences and ideas. And I would sing along, but my singing voice is barely audible in a chorus. I have a very low voice, and I don't project really well. So I was always sort of kind of mouthing along, really. I was singing, but I think I was the only one aware I was singing. I get looks sometimes I'm not sure it's because they would hear me suddenly or because they couldn't hear me and they were like, is he just mouthing? And then the jam, that's my 30th birthday. It would have been in the year 2000. So I turned 30 in 2000. But I did a comic jam at Casa de Popolo, and it was fun. And I had Just Joe came accompanied with Josh Dolgan, aka DJ So Called, and they got me. I had to skip to the loo. I had to skip around the bar as they sang "Skip to the Loo, My Darling," and they sang me birthday songs and did magic tricks, and then Flying J. Who was Flying J? Was that Josh? Stage name in this case? Maybe. I don't know. Bug Eye Monster was Bernie Moreau, cartoonist. And he sang me some songs. And I had fun with the cartoon here. There's like some old guy yelling, "You guys shut up." Da, da, da. And me drawing myself as a very old person, which I did not look like. Eat your gruel! So yeah, and that's the last of the set. And that, flashbacks, and that got me digging some more. So I found also this album that I did. So they were, the Cartel is a band. This is the back of the tray card. Because basically we decided to print one piece of paper, a tray card that was color on two sides, and color art on the disc, because they had a budget constraint. I remember that being the story behind that. There was a budget limit. You can see some of the bandmates and the producer from the album commented on the picture there. And this was the back. I was on a diner kick at the time. I did a bunch of paintings as well, themed around diners. And the title was already figured out, Starving for More. So I thought it was perfect to use a diner theme when I suggested to them. They totally went for it. I was working with Robin mainly, who was the keyboardist and band manager. And so this is the other side of the tray card. And it was an all clear CD jewel case. I seem to remember we used a compact one, but the spines look regular thickness, so maybe not. And so you would see the title of the album through the hinge window on the tray. And I tried to measure it so that it was perfectly visible. And then when you lifted the disc off of the tray case, jewel case mount, which would have been in the middle here, this is what you would see. And then this is the disc art. So that's the whole band. And that's where the band name was on the Cartel. So ideally they were all put in upright, but not necessarily. But so you'd see this and the tray card showing from behind it. And this is the other side. I was really pleased with how one looked. It came out real good. I have copies of most of these CDs somewhere in storage, but I didn't know where they are right now. I didn't go pulling them out. So that was interesting, looking at things that I did in the past. Nostalgia. Transitional times. Gets you thinking. So I'm going to close that. What's new with you all? Any chats going on? No chats. It's like you only comment when I'm not looking. Why? I don't know. You just mess me with that way. Well, it's over there. So I need to decide what I'm going to work on. This is a page for Bastard's Tale. In this case, bastards being plural. Plural? Not plural. Plural. Plural, as opposed to possessive. People always, when they see the logo, they're always like, you forgot a comma. Nope. Nope, it did not. But I know I'm messing with you intentionally. I take responsibility for the misunderstanding. I kind of want to... Like, I'm happy with how this looks, but it's too stiff. It's not right for the story. That's going to be a thing, and I have to work on making sure I don't... where is that work done? There we are, roughs. I want to turn off some layers to not think about and see them. Yeah. There's my layer. Gloves. Get my sexy little glove. All right. Too big. Too big. There we go. I think that's gonna work, but I want to parcel off the area. Select, expand, one. And we can take this out. But then add this too. Yeah, almost. Good. Yeah. Bigger even. Yeah. Let's do a quick base and then get in. I'm not following one of my own edicts. Try to remember to always make the brushes in a way that uses the simplest movement of the hand. Don't be silly. Rotate your paper. Rotate your canvas. Okay. What do we want to do with that? Is that good? I think a little more. Is it rationalized? Do I care about? Did I make a grid layer in this drawing? I didn't. I've got my, yeah, but not a grid layer. I've got one here, don't I? Yes. Yes. Copy. So the reason I have these in, and I'm going to size it to match. I know this is a 8 by 10 page, so this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not. It's too big. Yeah, you can see it's too far over there. So you can size that to fit, but it'll help me once I have it set right. Whoa. Whoa! There. Does that work? I don't think I saw the dots move, but they will now, and I can check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't feel like they really did. It don't. You know what? Let's just. There we go. That's close enough, I think. I'll just count it to check. But I can see it's lining up with my crop marks. That's a good sign. Not quite perfect. 1, 2, 3. Ah, lost my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah, perfect. Good enough. And so that'll be 10 down. And so what that does for me is that I can now draw. So I made them lighter. There we go. Can I go? So mask or by just, yeah, no, I can't. So let's leave it on top. Just means I have to be careful when I'm doing the select. So barn and layer 2 is the shadows of matting. Yes, good. Now, so if you've seen my videos before, you know what I'm doing here. Now I can see every one of these dots is an inch. I'm able to freehand eyeball my sense of space and scale and not worry as much, about getting too lost in the detail. As long as I remember to check, pay attention to. I have to attend to that. I've made it a visible guide available to myself that is of no good if I do not use it. I want to try. No. Too heavy. No. No. There's so many, I'm going to have to start paring down. What I'll do is like figure out which of these eventually I like using the most and bookmark them in sets or something. I just looked at that, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, I remember liking SpongeBob. SpongeBob has a nice level. Oh, Tweedweek. Let's do this. Okay, that's good. I want texture. It's got a nice version of. I don't want to use this a lot, but it's fun to get some in. Why am I not getting... Feels like I'm not getting size. Sensitivity. Let me just check. I'm not. It's going to be Windows Ink is off, right? Yes, Windows Ink is off. There we go. Clip Studio has been very picky about generally kind of like the drivers for tablet functions have been finicky, is what I would say has actually been going on. Crashing a little bit, just like outright stop really working for me, but also when they are working, it's very reliant on you're not doing what I want you to. Why do you keep doing that? Okay, that's not quite working the way planned. I'm going to have to go back, tweak. Yeah. Good enough. So that's good enough for now. I have to think about edge control. Generally top on darker. And now let's go. So I'm playing a little, like intentionally avoiding trying to go to smaller brushes really quickly because I want this to feel a little bit rough. This is one of the techniques I'm trying to carry over from brush density. Let's drop brush density from my work on paper with ink, which is that I have a fair bit of control, and so to avoid getting too stiff and also to keep a nice energy in the work, I frequently try to go a little faster, intentionally risk kind of going off the rails a bit to get more chaotic energy into the work, get the feel I want, keep it from being too stiff. What did I write those on? What did I write those? Okay, there's one of those I just turned off. Which one turns them on? Oh, it's on grid copy. That's okay. Good. All right then. So I want to modify my selection. Let's get in all this stuff and treat that as monolithic. A lot of this is going to be hidden behind corn for one thing. And it's dark. I'm going to play with some highlights on the shapes, but I want to lay down a firmly murky background behind the cornfield. Yeah. It's very close to the texture I get when what I do essentially is I use a kind of not dry brush but dry-ish water brush. So those are the ones where you can put water in the barrel, and they never totally dry out, but if you don't squeeze them a lot, they get this sort of mid-level wetness. So they're not really gushy, and it lets you develop tones in ink wash really well. It's a nice technique I like employing, and I'm just trying to find a very similar level of kind of modeling. I think I'm going to select, so I don't have to worry about the sky, my trees mask. Is that it? That's it. Oops, turn it back on. Yes. And that gives me a good constraint for I don't have to worry about. And that way I can get the edges dark safely by masking it out. Because the sky is dark, and any lighting that there is going on out there in the night is coming from below. But mostly, I just want a simple. I wonder, it's not. One thing I would like to do in Clip Studio that I have not found the selection for. Let's look again. Is hide selection, which you can do in Photoshop. Nope, don't see it. Someone watching out there happens to know. You could mention. What do I do with that window? There we go. Now, how long have I been going? Oh, almost an hour. Go in and knock out stuff for that fan later. I decided I want to do like the look that you get when you go over something with white paint. So that's a different layer. dark, and then I can always go back, and I think with a smaller drop in highlights, the moonlight. No. There we go. Let's deselect. We're going to have a look, see how that's going. It's very modeled and messy right now, which is fine because this I don't want this mid zone to be terribly sharp. Actually, I'm knocking it all back for background. I don't regret the rendering. The drafting specifically. I think the drawing could have been looser. But I don't actually want it to be so crisp in the final version. It's a break from the aesthetic cues that I've been using for this story. Let's go back and select again. It's going to be behind mask here, but I want some baseline suggestion of forms of a landscape with the light and dark. It's going to be darker. Here could be actually lightened a bit. Somebody's pinging me. Pinging, pinging, pinging. I will have to go back and look at that later. Messages. Messages. And let's go to white again and small. Let's turn off that. There we go. And I want a little bigger brush now. Reverse wash. I like it. I definitely didn't rush into doing digital work like this simply because I was comfortable doing it on paper and I like the results I got. And it does take more planning. It's a little less accidental, more contrived in this situation, which was always my kind of like, yeah, but I like the accident stuff. I don't have to think about it. And very often I like it. That's exactly what I want. It's that organic energy. The so-called accidental stuff actually had a lot more character than overly intentional work. It's not to say that having no intention, like the key to design is intentionality. So it's not that it's just being messy is the point, but kind of controlled chaos. But just so, I'm finding a good place with the controlled chaos using these tools in Clip Studio. They're, you know, the current version of Photoshop brushes, just not liking them as much. They're too mushy. There's just like a crispness, and I think generally the program would perform smoother on my machine too. Clip Studio does. So I'm using both a lot these days, but I use Photoshop mainly for typesetting, for props, and that has a lot to do with the fact that we need to use Adobe's. So we have a license, a studio license with Adobe, and that lets us use the fonts without a lot of issues. Any other font, it's a bit complicated. Can't really just use whatever I want. So having access to the Adobe font suite is pretty critical for the animation work that we're doing. So streamlines the legal issues. I'm fairly certain Adobe's probably not a saint as a company when it comes to that stuff too, but not my call. In this case, that's the studio. I like that. Just a really big version of the same brush. So stylistically speaking, a principle I exploit a lot is the concept of and scalability of fractals. Same patterns repeating at different scales is how most perceived detail works in the natural world. It's a little overplayed sometimes, the idea of fractals. A lot of cosmic mumbo jumbo that gets tacked onto it. But it is a correct observation that self-similarity at scale is a pretty accurate description of how the world organizes itself. And then so as artists, just sort of hijacking that and doing it in our work, being also aware that that's a concept, which makes it easier to hijack it and make it useful, use it in our work. It's a really good design principle to learn as a young artist. So it's one of the reasons why people will recommend when you're drawing as a stylistic and simplicity measure. Often those things are related. A lot of style and commercial art is designed around efficiency, and to a certain degree simplicity is part of the secret to that. So yeah, a hack that people learn sooner or later is to just use a square brush for everything or something. I'm sure you've seen people talk about doing that at this point. It's a pretty popular technique recommendation. A hint at a darker, not too dark, smaller brush, more control. There we go. And that way you end up with a crisp simplicity sometimes. Or in this case, it's not even crisp at all, because it's actually quite, this is murky, deep, dark backgrounds that I want to be a little scribbly and a little rough. And then I'm going to have layers and layers of stuff on top. So I'm even trying to be mindful of a lot of what I'm doing now is going to be obscured. So that's part of the reason why the resolution doesn't have to be very high. I think that's going to get affected a lot by lighting. All that will, but that's a good place to leave this session. So let's bring back what's missing. To start seeing this mask for the cornfield is going to probably change a bit. That's just a rough mock-up. Yeah. Getting there. Which ones? Where's the trees? They're not there. They're down here. There we go. Get rid of that. And we don't need both moons. That's kind of fun, though. I actually turned on a moon. Yeah, I want the bigger one. Or do I? Copy. Yeah, actually that was intentional. I like that smaller, lighter one. I don't know though. Now though, I think about it. Let us see. I think. Yeah, it's a bit better. It's getting there. Well, over an hour live streaming. That's usually my capacity for the live streaming. None of you guys, no one's going to the chat. No one talking to me. Oh. That's okay. Hope you're having fun with the art. Enjoy the little cruise down memory lane for my music poster art days. Yeah, I taught my last class of Intro to Cartooning at Sin Studio this week. It was a nice class. I won't miss teaching. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it's not paid enough, and there weren't enough classes to teach, and it was a little difficult managing private students. I had some troubles with that, just like time capacity wise, and I want to keep doing it with Patreon to a limited extent, but I much prefer working at a school where someone else takes care of most of the administrative stuff. I just come and teach a class, because that in itself is enough work. And I've had over, I think I counted once. I'll have to do a tally again now that it's all wrapped up. But it was in excess of 600 students over the last 7 years. So that's pretty cool. I've helped a lot of people enjoy their work more. Making comics, I feel like a lot of times some people figure out if they actually really wanted to be making comics. Not intentionally, but it's a complicated art form. So there can't help but be a little bit of surprise and reassessment going on for people when they realize how much goes into making a comic. Yeah, I gotta go in and rationalize some of the highlights and shadows a bit more on this. And I think I want to draw some layers for the next few hours. I might turn the camera back on. We'll see. But it interferes with my ability to stream and watch other things. So we'll see. Subscribe, hit the bell, hit the likes. share with your friends. There's a lot of tutorial stuff aside from my process pod, long streams and short episodes. And I'll see you around.